Hello, my name is Jenna Davern, and this is the part 2 of the self-evaluation assignment. I'm going to talk about the different standards and what I learned from them. So standard 1, promoting child development and learning. This is understanding how young children develop, what they need to grow and learn in their environment. I know to arrange the classroom in a way that is safe and bright and colorful and promotes their learning in a way that everyone feels welcome. I also want to make sure that the schedule is developmentally appropriate and it leaves room for transitions and changes throughout the day. And then I also know that different things influence how children learn and develop. I know that culture and home language is very important to how children learn. And in a classroom, you want to have very multicultural materials and labels throughout the classroom in different languages so that families feel welcome in there as well. And I also know that having modifications in your lesson planning is very important to accommodate for all children. And even if you don't know if they have a disability or not, I want to always have 2 or 3 extra options in a lesson plan in case one of them, a child, may not be on the level that you expected them to be. And of course, especially nowadays, more so nowadays, I guess, I know that preventing the spread of germs is very important in helping keep the children and their families safe. So you want to teach them themselves how to properly wash their hands, and that's a good lesson in every year. You can always recap this. And of course, me as the teacher, I know how to remove gloves properly, change diapers properly, sanitize the surfaces and their toys. And then also, again, with the scheduling, leaving room for transitions is important, and supporting the environment for the kids. Talking about circle time, it gives the children a chance to work on their socialization skills and listening skills. It is also a time for short, structured learning time. Even in like a child-centered environment, it's good to have short, structured learning to work on their listening skills. And of course, you want to keep that at the appropriate length for their development as well, because if you stay too long in circle time, they'll lose interest. And talking about having classroom rules or guidelines, I believe that having the children help make those rules and guidelines, they'll feel more involved, and they'll be more likely to follow them and remind their peers to follow them. And I believe in more guidelines than rules. So going into standard 2, building family and community relationships, this is also very important. Family should be very involved in their kids' learning, no matter if they think so or not. And community, I want to be able to involve the community around the school. I know that families are very different and diverse, and I could have very many different cultures in my classroom, and I want to respect them and make them feel as welcome as I can. And going into sharing observation and assessments with the families, I think that's important. They should know where their child is developmentally, and I want them to be able to see the observations that I take, whether it be notes or videos, so that they can make their comments, and I want to be able to have open communication with them as well. Moving on to standard 3, this is observing, documenting, and assessing to support young children and families. This helps keep track of how they are developing and what their next steps are for their learning. I personally have used a lot of running notes many times, and I like this method because I'm a pretty good note taker, and I like the details and the factual details, being able to write what they say, what they do, and going back and looking over it and seeing maybe what they were thinking and what they have learned from that activity. And I want to make I want to have more practice with the different types of assessments, because I've had a lot of practice with the note taking. I want to have more practice with different ones. And of course, relating that back to GELDS and creating lesson plans off of that. And I found it was pretty cool that I learned that you can do observations through photos or videos, and those videos or photos can be shared with parents and put in digital portfolios for them to see at any time they want. And you can go back to the first video or photo they ever took of the year and the last one and see how much their kid has changed and how much they have developed and learned. And speaking of technology, it's a big part of our lives today, and it can be very handy as long as it's appropriate. Assistive technology for students with disabilities can make learning a lot easier for them, and I want to be able to have different options of assistive technology available for them for all kinds of different disabilities. And again, talking about community and partnerships with people in the community, I feel that children in the classroom need that as well as their families. I want to become more educated on the community around the school and how much I can get that involved into their education, as well as having information readily available for parents that need help, with food, clothing, anything like that, housing. I want to have that information available in case they do confide in me with that information. Going into Standard 4, using developmentally effective approaches. This says to understand positive relationships and supportive interactions. And I love getting down on the child's level. This is so important when you're talking to them, because they feel more comfortable with you and they'll probably open up to you more once you're on their level, because when you're standing above them, it seems like like I said, like you're standing above them, so it's intimidating. I want to be very energetic, enthusiastic in the way I talk and teach to them. I want to keep them engaged, and if I'm just talking boring, then they're not going to pay any attention to me. No matter what is going on in my personal life, because I know it can be hard to be energetic sometimes, so I want to try to be as engaging as possible to make learning fun for them and myself. Of course, being caring and patient with young children, that's very important. It may be hard some days for children to be caring and patient, or for you to be patient, but that is important for the children because they need that caring relationship. I know being positive is also important, as well as encouraging independence. At such a young age, even babies, they need that independence. And of course, like I said, you want to respect them and listen to them no matter what, and be involved with their play. I like to get down on the floor and play with them as well. I don't just like to hover and watch. I like to get down and play with them too. Talking about effective strategies and tools. Again, with the technology, I want to use appropriate and effective technology. I know growing up, I had a smart board in my classroom, and I loved that. I loved being able to go up and be interactive and move things and draw things on the board. That was really fun for me. And I think that is an example of an effective technology to use in a classroom, as well as, of course, computers, audio listeners, audiobooks, stuff like that. Those are all very effective. And teaching in different ways as well. Naturalistic, informal, and teacher-directed. I want lesson plans that show each of those, because children learn differently and they need to be exposed to the different types of ways they can learn. And then this talks about reflecting on your own practice to promote positive outcomes. I do reflect on my decisions I make, and I feel like when I'm teaching, I reflect more, whether that's good or bad. But Okay, moving on to standard 5. This is using content knowledge to build meaningful curriculum. Open-ended materials for this is important. I love open-ended materials. They allow for active exploration and learning. I want the kids in the classroom to be able to be very creative and imaginative while they learn. And I want the classroom, like I said, to be very child-led, other than the occasional teacher-led, like circle time. I do not want a lot of teacher-led activities so that there's many opportunities for creative exploring. And I love showing off their artwork. Artwork is a big part of their life and their creativity, and they should be able to show people that walk into the classroom and see what they did and explain to them what they created. And this actually gave me a great idea to take current popular songs and change their lyrics into something that the children are currently learning. I think that's such a great way to keep them engaged. And you can involve instruments in this and movement materials. Those are important to have and for them to be able to explore. And these should be multicultural as well. And then for read aloud times, there should be planned and spontaneous times. This is important for their experiences. They get to be exposed to fiction, nonfiction, and this develops their language. And you can add puppets to this too, make it visually entertaining for them. And then I want to have a very large selection of age-appropriate literature that the children in the classroom can actively explore. These should be hardcover, softcover, black and white, colored, books, magazines, menus, many different types of reading material they should be exposed to. And then, of course, math, manipulatives, and science. Those are very important centers, and they should also have open-ended materials in them so that they can actively explore those as well. And then the last standard, standard 6, becoming a professional. I love working with children, and I plan to teach elementary one day. I want to be an elementary school teacher, so I have a lot of schooling to go through and a lot of professionalism to learn. And the code of ethics definitely helps for that, and I plan to follow that in every job that I get, no matter what it is. And this talks about having a PDR. I do have one, but I do need to update it because I did get a few other certifications. And then also, of course, reflecting again on my decisions, taking different perspectives, looking back on the assignments that I've done, the projects, lesson plans, all that, looking back, seeing the good and the bad, and of course, being an advocate for children. And that's about it for the standards. Thank you for listening.